So uncertainty and a wait-and-see attitude in Northwest Indiana with the proposed acquisition now in the courts and a looming deadline to get the deal done by June 18. So we'll continue to follow it. Stay tuned. To get perspective now on the U.S. Steel deal and a look ahead to the Indiana business climate in 2025, pleased to be joined by a panel of insiders this week. Winston Terrell Group Principal Robin Winston, also Ball State University economist Mike Hicks, and Sagamore Institute President Teresa Lubbers. And thanks one and all for being here.
Thank you.
Mike, I'll start with you on the U.S. Steel. Big story. It's a big story nationally and certainly a big story in Northwest Indiana. Your take and what to expect. Interesting, you see the mayor of Gary is very much for the deal. You see this interesting, the steel workers are against the deal. What do you think is going to happen?
I think this is really a labor issue right now. We're seeing the first shots by the Biden administration to try to make sure that Nippon, when they acquire U.S. steel, that are going to honor some of the existing contracts. Bottom line is we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to try to attract foreign investment. This is a huge win for Indiana to have Nippon Steel coming in, buying U.S. steel, and leaving it there, building out the plant, adding capacity. And the idea that we would get in the way with that with the Biden administration, I think, is it's likely not to last. I think we'll see this deal come by this June.
Yeah, Robin and Teresa, both. Teresa?
Well, I agree with Mike. I think if not this, what? And for the future of Gary in Northwest Indiana, this is a very important deal. And the whole idea that this is a national security issue when we're talking about Japan is sort of befuddling to me because they have been a good partner with us. And so I think it's a deal that even though the union may have come out, there are a lot of steel workers who would not be in that position.
Yeah, Robin, this comes at a time, as I think I mentioned there's a lot of momentum in the region. Investment, the economy is diversifying a little bit, and some tech-related companies. So it's kind of a critical time in Northwest Indiana.
You've seen Northwest Indiana go through a lot of phases. Right now, quality of life is coming along. You got new tracks coming in for the South Shore. You've got transit-oriented development coming along there. I think that's going to make a difference. But on the other side, if the new president indeed does his tariffs, it's actually beneficial for U.S. Steel to be here because we have gotten the steel industry decimated by cheap steel coming in from abroad. So, look, I'll tell you, Mike Millsap, the head of District 7 of the Steelworkers, is 100% in agreement with what the president made in this decision.
That certainly is a big deal. Old line manufacturing with steel, but Indiana has been attracting a lot of big deals, data centers, semiconductor plants, EV component operations. I want to talk about that, and Teresa, maybe to you first. In terms of the workforce and filling these jobs, these are different kinds of jobs, manufacturing jobs than Indiana is used to. Is Indiana, as you look at 2025 and beyond, positioned to fill those jobs?
Well, we need speed. We need to be able to respond to opportunity quickly. And if you look at the big deals that are out there, they do hinge on having not just the infrastructure, but the people to do the jobs. And we have a long way to go in that regard. And so when you look at, I think it's a balance between, management of resources, power and water in those areas, but also, the real risk is turning our back on an opportunity to create thousands of high-paying jobs. And that's where the future is.
Yeah. You look at some of those big deals. I mentioned the big electric vehicle investments and those types of things. Lilly and Meta at the Innovation District in Lebanon in Boone County, LEAP. Bit of controversy about that, the state buying up property and then offering it for economic development. Mike, do you see that changing going forward in terms of from a state strategy standpoint?
Yeah. The strategy behind LEAP, I think, marks a pretty big departure for the administration. We're going away from, sort of passively bringing companies to Indiana, selling them on what we have, and now we're going to be a land developer. And I don't think that's likely to work out really well. At the same time, I think the hope and the opportunity is that Lebanon's a great human capital location, poised within an hour of 3 research universities, in an area where housing costs are low, where people would like to live, good quality of life. I think that's really the attractor. And so it's really important for us to continue to work on making sure that we're producing enough people who want to stay in Indiana, who have the skills to work in a Meta, less a call center type or a physical facility that is just generating power, and more to the really high quality jobs that you get in semiconductors and all the R&D that is associated with that, and medical fields. And that's the long-term challenge. It's not the physical plant, it's the people.
Teresa, you mentioned power, infrastructure, and I spoke with the incoming Secretary of Energy for the state of Indiana recently about that. Does Indiana have the needed power, what the strategy should be? And here's what she had to say.
We have the need. Nuclear is safe. Nuclear is clean. It is 24/7, and it's a long-term resource that we can deploy here in the state of Indiana, among other things.
So in all of the above strategy is basically what she's saying there. A lot of attention being given to water and the concerns about water usage. Where do you think Indiana, as you look at 2025 and beyond, should it be a concern?
Gary, I think it should be a concern because a lot of this is going to be dictated by national politics. You have a president that said he cannot stand windmills. Well, come and drive along 65 and look at all the windmills along Fowler. We are talking about decommissioning coal plants, but there are other people that say don't decommission coal plants. And now we're talking about water finally, and it was a shrewd move by the governor. There's going to be a study, which I hope will be a bipartisan study, bringing people in from Tippecanoe as well as Boone County to talk about what our future is for a very valuable resource.
Yeah, and we've seen some of those studies, including from the Indiana Chamber, come out and said it's not a problem now. It needs to be managed, though, in terms of the water.